Should be good. Yeah, so I guess I want to start off this event with a few introductions. Obviously, my name is Ryan. I am the VP Social of the Society of Computing and Information Sciences. I've had a great opportunity to be able to work with Sarah on this event. She has communicated with us that a lot of first years have a bunch of questions to ask for us. We have a ton of questions from Sarah's story on her Instagram. Sarah, if you would like to introduce yourself now, that'd be great.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Sarah. I'm your first year rep for SOCIS. And this whole event is just targeted for you guys, including me, just to help us out for next year, because I know we have little worries every here and there. So I hope this is of value for everyone. And shout out to all my other SOCIS and GWIX helpers for making this event possible.
Cool. I'm just going to go down the line of the SOCIS members now. So Kiefer, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ryan. So I'm Kiefer. I'm the president of SOCIS. So what that means for people who don't know the responsibilities of the president, basically I just kind of represent the student body to the School of Computer Science Council, and I also sit on the program committee. I'm in my 5th year of the co-op degree, and I'm graduating at the end of this month. So yeah.
Congrats. Woohoo. Nice job, Kiefer. Ben, what's up? How's it going?
Good, man. I'm the 4th year rep for SOCIS, so I'm basically Sarah's position, except I'm here to represent 4th year students. I've been involved in SOCIS since 2018, so I've been around, been in the loop for a lot of internal school things and most of the SOCIS events, and I've run a bunch of week things as well.
Cool. Ben's a great 4th year rep. Love him on the team. And then we have 2 representatives here from GWIX, which is the Guelph Women in Computer Science. Whichever one of you want to go first, go ahead, introduce yourselves, and maybe tell a little bit about GWIX and how you can get involved.
Go ahead, Ellen.
All right, so I'm Ellen. I'm the marketing manager for GWIX. I'm in my final semester of software engineering. Julia?
Great. Hi, I'm Julia. I'm the financial manager of GWIX. I'm in my 4th year of software engineering, not graduating. I still have another year to go. I'm in co-op. Yeah, GWIX is a great club for women and non-binary like people in computer science. We have some cool events and like it's a good way to connect and like make a community for like those people who are underrepresented in the field. I recommend if you are a woman or a non-binary individual to join GWIX next year, because we do cool stuff.
Give us like an idea. I know you guys do some cool events. Just give us like one event that you guys have done recently that's been really, really cool.
Okay, so we had 2 events this year. One is like we did cooking with GWIX. So we had a professional chef go on Zoom and do a cooking class with us, and we had a tea party for International Women's Day.
Super cool. Yeah, I always see your advertisements, so like that seems really cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so I guess we can get started with this Q&A. Excuse me. We can answer, I believe it was Laura's question first. If you guys have any questions, please just drop them down in the chat. We'll answer them as soon as possible. We have Sarah recording down these questions, so we promise that we'll get to you. But yeah, so I believe the first question from Laura was, do we have placements for the semester after graduating? I guess it's more for the graduating people here.
Sure. So I guess I'll go ahead and answer first. So as I mentioned, I'm in my last semester. I'm graduating at the end of this month. And I actually do have a job placement secured already. So I'm going to be starting a new job at Cash App. So they're a sub-organization of Square, which is a payments processing company. And I'm starting on May 3rd. So super quick turnaround, graduating. Like I think my last exam is like on April 24th. I have like a 2-week break and then start my job. It's super exciting.
Nice.
If anyone wants to like talk at more length of like what it's like to work at Square/Cash App, I've done 2 co-op terms there. Feel free to DM me anytime on Gryphslack, and I'll just, yeah, that's it.
I have kind of semi-temporary job lined up. It's actually a factory in Guelph. I'm kind of their tech person. So I worked for them for the last 2 years. Mostly I do database administration and SQL scripting for them, but also just random tech stuff, upgrading computers, fixing errors, all that kind of stuff.
Cool. When I graduate, I've finished my last assignment of university last week, so I'm basically in the clear. Yeah, it's awesome. I'm gonna be officially graduating at the end of the exam period, I guess. But I've been working for this a startup company based in Guelph for coming up on 2 years now. I got hooked up with the job by someone who was in SOCIS when I was just finishing up my second year. So make sure you keep those connections, everyone. And I've been there ever since, working full time in the summers, part time during the school year, and I'll be continuing on there full time after this semester.
Cool. Shadow Valley Connect, great company. Ben hired me on there as well, so that's pretty hype.
Yeah, you see the value of joining SOCIS.
Okay, cool. So we also have another question in chat. It says how to build a good resume for co-op, or any tips to get a good co-op position. Kiefer has been like really good guy for me to talk to personally about co-ops, so I'm gonna hand that off to him. He's super smart in terms of like co-ops and everything like that.
All right, sure. So how do I build up a good resume for co-op? That's like honestly kind of a loaded question. There's a lot of different things you can do to build a good resume. The first thing I think it really matters start with assessing your experience. If you have like previous experience in software, even if it's just like building a personal project, or you volunteered like in high school to like help someone build a website or whatever, put that on your resume. Try and like come up with like 3 bullet points for like each project or each position you've had, and really highlight the technical skill set that you have been able to showcase through your short career so far, as well as like put down like your various interests and stuff. You want to really, like, early in your career, you want to give your potential employers a good idea of who you are, what your interests are, and like your willingness to learn and really, I guess, like show up and do a good job. So highlight your experience really well. I'd recommend that you keep it to a 1-page resume, like in the beginning, unless you have like a really big amount of experience. But yeah, try and keep it down to 1 page, and also try and make your resume look really distinctive. If you've never played with LaTeX before, it's like this very technical document typesetting program, but it really lets you play with layout and make your resume look super professional. So I recommend checking out LaTeX, and also talk to your co-op advisors, because they're going to have like lots and lots of advice for you. They'll be able to critique your experience, give you tips on how to make your resume look better, that sort of thing. I think that's the first part of the question. I don't know if anyone else wants to jump on.
Yes, I would like to hop on. I'm sorry, this is the part of the meeting where I have to look at my cake, but yeah, I would say hackathons are a really good way. I saw someone mention that in the chat. When I was in second year, I did this hackathon, and like employers said that they really liked seeing, one, that I did things other than school stuff, and 2, it like really shows off like you have like a deliverable thing on your GitHub that they can look at and be like, wow, look at them go. Like, it's a really good way to do cool stuff and, you know, get noticed on your resume.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything you can do to highlight your potential and your technical abilities so far that could be built off, absolutely huge.
Thank you for maybe lagging.
Yeah, in like normal years, am I still here? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you're
here.
In like more normal years, hackathons are like these super big in-person events, and SOCIS usually advertises them like crazy, so you'll always be like in the loop. And definitely just jump on every opportunity that you can for those sort of things. In like the current like very remote world, there's lots of like online events. You don't even need to really like curate too much. You can just kind of like look for like online hackathon, and you'll find something, and then they'll give you like a topic, and you can just kind of build something cool.
Yeah, there's
That's
a
a
ton
good
of
way to get
opportunity
started
to
if
do
you're not
those
sure.
online right now.
Yeah, I also think that in terms of building a good resume for co-op, there's like a ton of resources out there specifically related to Guelph. If you go to griff.slack.com, we have tons of alumni and like bunch of people ready to help out. I know that recently GWix did a event called a resume toast, and it was basically like you send in your resume, and they sort of like roast it, but lightly and stuff like that in a way. Like Kate and Laura are co-op advisors. Just have to search them up on on Google, I guess. Like they're literally there, but they are amazing at helping out. Additionally, I don't know if you guys are in like there's a sort of BComp server that I could definitely send you guys a link to if you guys aren't in it. And there's a bunch of people there who are always willing to help out in like a career channel. But yeah, you just got to reach out and send people your resume and say like, hey, like what can I do better? There's always going to be like ton of resources for that. Yeah. Okay, so if no one else has anything to say about that, I believe Laura has. I'm sorry for pronouncing your name wrong, Laura, but you have your hand raised. If there's a question, please. Let us
Yeah, I
know.
just wanted to ask, like, based on all of your like co-op experiences, is there like a language that kind of like it's not like obligatory to know, but like it would be preferred if you knew it before like going into a job? Just like, you know, that universal language that you should know. Like I don't know, like you like English, for example, like I
Yeah,
don't know, but like for coding.
I would say one of the ones that are probably most applicable to the most jobs would be JavaScript, and then any JavaScript framework like React or Vue. Um, Not necessarily that every job will require that, but I'd say the majority of jobs are doing front end JavaScript programming. What about you, Julia?
Yeah, I would say that we're really lucky that we learned C in our first couple years, because C is like the syntactic like basis of a lot of different programming languages. And so it's kind of like if you know like C, it's like if you want to like think of it in English, like if you can speak like Canadian English, you will be able to get by in Scotland and England. Like sure they use different words and customs could be a little different, but you'll be able to survive. And that's kind of like what C is for us. So you're here and you got this far, so you should be pretty good. But yeah, I definitely agree with Ben. Like JavaScript is a good way to go.
Yeah, and if I can just hop in on that really quick. So JavaScript, if you've never written any JavaScript before, the syntax is very C-like. So if you're already like gotten through like the C stuff that you need to learn in first year, then you're going to do pretty decent with any sort of like web development that you want to like branch into with JavaScript. It's pretty easy to get like started and self-teach because there's loads of resources online. But if you're looking for another language that isn't front-end oriented, if you're looking to become like more of like a back-end services engineer or work on some like internal tooling and stuff, a lot of like big companies have Java-based frameworks and Java-based platforms. So I'd highly recommend learning Java. You're gonna have to learn Java in your second year anyway with the object-oriented programming course. So taking an early look at that language is definitely a good call.
And another thing, I think I want to specialize in web development and software design. So are there like any electives that you would recommend I take if I wanted to follow this stream?
I think that's more of a question for the upper years. I don't know any of the courses past second year, essentially.
Are you in computer science or software engineering?
I'm in computer engineering.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what electives you would call. I mean, there's software design courses, but they're kind of reserved for the software engineering students. I don't know if you can be waived in, but that's something that you could look at, is being waived into the software design courses. I think there's also a UI design course. I didn't take it, but I think other people I know have taken a UI design course or something along.
Yeah, it's 2000 level.
Yeah.
I'm currently taking that course. It's 2170 if you want the course code.
And I think there's also a new web design course.
I think so,
first
yeah.
year level course. I think we can take that now. Honestly, Queen, if you can switch into CS, if you can change your whole major, like maybe try that.
I
Because
feel like if you're interested in design, you might actually want to look at software engineering instead of computer engineering.
The thing is that I got into software, but then I was talking to my mom about it, and she's like, I feel like computer engineering is more like safer than software, just because I feel like with computer engineering, I don't know, she had her whole reasons, but she's paying, so I had to listen to her. Yeah, I did get into software and I did want to do it, but then she said, no, take computer. And I said, okay. But like, I do like software and like software design and web development, but yeah.
then do a bunch of web extracurriculars. Like if you go to hackathons, do web projects. And I'm sure like if you have like experience speaks more than courses sometimes in the computer science world. So like hopefully you can supplement your learning that way.
I'd say
Also an HCI course. I think that is open. I think you can take that as an elective in 3rd or 4th year. And it basically covers a lot of the stuff very briefly that is covered in the software design courses.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. That's what yeah. All right. Thank you, guys.
I'm just going to return back to the first question. I think I have like a little bit of a different opinion on it. Like there are going to be like universal languages and stuff like that that you can sort of be taught or learn that can increase your ability to like, or your reach per se to get like different jobs and stuff like that. But I think that specifically you should probably try and focus on your interests, because there will always be jobs in whatever programming language you have. Because yeah, you can sit here and learn JavaScript, but if I'm interested in embedded systems, like I'm not going to be very happy in my job, right? Doing like web development and stuff like that. Whereas if I'm interested in embedded systems and I start learning C and I really, really dive into C and I become an absolute wizard in C, like many, many jobs will want to hire me that are like embedded systems jobs. So while there is like program or languages out there that can probably give you more reach in terms of how many jobs you have and stuff like that, one, you may be unhappy, and two, like you can become a wizard at whatever language that you're interested in or whatever area that you're interested in, and jobs will always want to hire any sort of like wizards or anything like that.
That's a fantastic point. It'll be
I
a
also-
lot easier to
I agree
pursue
with
what
that
you're
too,
interested
yeah.
in too.
I also I want to point out that it's really common to have to learn a new language on the job. A lot of the time, an employer is not necessarily just gonna be like, okay, well, we're not going to hire you if you're not an expert in this language, because your skills are transferable. They really want to hire like an excellent software engineer or an excellent software developer or an excellent web designer. If your like experience in the language on the job requirement doesn't like quite match up, it's totally expected that you might have to spend a little bit of time like onboarding and catching up on like the language and the frameworks that you're going to be dealing with. So don't fear too much about not having the universal language, because I wouldn't necessarily say that there is one. And there's lots of
Definitely
new
agree.
programming languages that are popping up and becoming very popular now, like Kotlin and Rust. So pigeonholing yourself as like a particular language developer is maybe not the best idea.
Right. Yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I have so many questions, but like I'd never like I don't know if there will be any opportunity like this again. So I just like have a list of questions that I've been like clueless about all year.
If you want, Laura, you can type them in chat and then we'll eventually get to your questions, just so we can like
Okay.
answer the
Yeah,
other
of course.
questions from
Yeah,
other
that's
people.
the thing.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Also,
Um,
for anyone else, just before we go, Ryan, if just drop any of these questions in the Gryphslack in the general channel or the SOCIS channel. Like most of us are pretty vigilant and watch that Slack, and there's tons more of alumni and students there too who can answer any of your questions.
yeah, if you guys go to griff.slack.com, sign up with your U of G email. There is like a hashtag help channel that you can drop any questions in there, and there's always gonna be someone with like an opinion or anything that you need to help you out with. I'm pretty sure I've seen like questions in there that don't even have to do with like tech stuff. So any sort of questions you guys need.
Any question is fair game. And
It's great. And they're all like kind of people who have been through the same program and same kind of school as us. So it's great. Cool. Okay. So our next question comes from Manpreet. And it's asking us, how was our experiences with 2750 and how should one prepare for it to get a good or get a good gist of what to expect? So just to go through kind of the board right now, I'm personally in 2750. And then we were supposed to have another guy here who was in 2750, but unfortunately he was feeling a little sick today, so he couldn't make it. Additionally, Ben is actually tutoring someone in 2750. So we probably have the most recent knowledge of 2750. But yeah, I'm going to open up the floor to anybody who wants to talk about their experiences with 2750 right now.
I'll start because I've been exposed to 2750 for the past 3 years now. First off, we actually have an entire we have a seminar posted on the SOCIS YouTube channel talking about how to prepare for 2750, which is definitely worth a watch. To sum it up, basically you'll be given the spec for something you'll have to parse. You want to learn that spec very well because understanding that will be a key to your success. Another thing is, don't really stress about it. It's not that hard. It just takes consistent work, in my opinion. You'll want to be probably working on it every day or every other day. It's not something that you can very effectively procrastinate on. That's probably the biggest piece of advice I can give if someone else would like to step on.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. If you're a procrastinator like I am, try to get out of that habit now. I'll say, so I took 2750 2 years ago. I'm just going to say I didn't prepare for it at all. Like, I didn't do any research about what it was going to contain or the languages we were going to use. And I got a pretty good mark. Like, I put the work in. I think I got like an 87 or an 88, something like that. It was challenging, but it was not nearly as bad as people make it out to be. And Dennis, the instructor, is amazing. He's very understanding. That particular year, it was a really bad winter, and I think we lost like 3 or 4 classes, and due dates kept having to be pushed and everything. And he was amazing at handling it all and gauging the stress level of the class and pushing due dates and stuff like that. So I guess the number one thing is don't worry about it so much. It's not actually going to be as bad as you think it's going to be.
Yeah, if I can just jump in for a sec. So I took 2750, I think it was about 3 years ago now. And when I took the course, I was like kind of freaked out about it too, just like probably a lot of you are. The course has a bad rap because many years ago, like many years ago, like so long ago, it's ancient history. There was like a pretty like hardcore prof that like took the course very seriously. And just like made it really hard for students intentionally. That's not been the case for a super duper long time. Dennis Nikotenko, the current prof, who's been teaching it for the past forever, he's just, you know, chef's kiss. Honestly, perfect. He checks in with your students like all the time. He's super in touch with the class. Tries to make sure that everybody is like, you know, they're like making good progress on their implementations, that they're meeting the checkpoints. He provides you opportunities to resubmit. He gives you a testing suite, at least when I took it, after your first submission, so you can test your code through all of the test cases that he's using to mark, and then lets you resubmit after you've changed your code to pass those tests so that you can improve your grade. I don't know if that's still the case, but that was the case when I took it. Yeah, so you have plenty of opportunities to recover grades that you may have lost from being unprepared or making a mistake. And honestly, it's not that bad of a course. I got out of it like with a really good grade. I think pretty much everybody on this panel did. Honestly, like a lot of people like kind of drop early because they're scared. But aside from the high drop rate early on, most people end up with a really good grade. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, the reason it has such a scary rep is definitely because it used to be super hard, and now it's kind of perpetuated by a very vocal minority of people who, you know, don't manage their time well and then end up screwing themselves over, and of course complain about it very loudly because it fails their expectations. So if you don't do that, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I will say, like, do take it seriously. It is going to be the hardest course and most demanding course. you will have taken in university. Okay, like it's kind of like a baby in that you have to take care of it always, and it'll keep you up at night crying. Just kidding, just kidding. Maybe, I'm not sure, I don't know about your work ethic. Like you can't procrastinate. Like it really makes you change how you work, and like it's trying to make you the best you. And like, you know, it's in under a lot of pressure, you know, diamonds can get formed and like pearls can get formed, but sometimes under pressure, you know, you can like melt and cry, and those are the people who drop it. And it's like totally okay to take 2750 a couple times. Like it's a really hard course, and you also have to take algorithms and operating systems whilst you're taking it. And it's like you're coming off of like second year, first semester, which is underratedly hard. Like no one talks about how hard first semester, second year is, because everyone's scared about 2750. But the whole second year, it's like trial by fire year, because we can't weed you out in the first year because we can't assume that you know how to code. And then in second year, it's like, so be prepared to be the best you can be. Like you just have to give it your all, and then you can do well. And the people who unfortunately just like don't time manage, or like who just can't handle that pressure, because it's totally fine if you can't handle that pressure, like those are the people who end up dropping it. But it is a lot easier now, and by easier it means the odds are more in your favor, but it's still like challenging, but in a good way.
Yeah, it's not a joke, but like it definitely requires constant participation and constant like I guess fanning of the flames, trying to keep them at the right level. But it's not that bad. You can do it. I believe in you.
Yeah, it's basically like don't blow the course off and you'll probably be okay. Put in the effort and you'll probably be okay. I will say I am not a fast programmer. I take probably 150% of the time that most other people take. I'm very slow. I'm not the best programmer, and I still did well because I put in the time. I worked away steadily at it. I tried really hard to overcome my procrastination tendencies, and I did well. And I would not qualify myself as the best or the fastest programmer.
Nice. I also want to kind of touch back on Dennis's like compassion, and how just good he is of a professor. I actually tried to get him on this panel, so they could, you know, like talk directly to students about 2750. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it this weekend, but he did send me some advice in an email, so I'm just going to read that off now. He says that the reputation that SIS 2750 has does no one any good. Students come into the course pre-stressed and pre-freaked out, but being stressed just makes everyone procrastinate, do things at the last minute, and make mistakes, all of which I would prefer to avoid. The stigma seems to keep the students from paying attention to the things that make or break this course, which is good time management, paying attention to details, systematic testing / debugging, and asking for help early. So those like last four things are basically what we've all been talking about here on this panel. Start early, guys. Make sure that you're fanning the flames, and it'll go fine.
If I could branch off that comment about Dennis's wonderful compassion, for all courses, this is something you should keep in mind, is that the professors are not there to manage you or control you. It's not like high school teachers where you have to ask to go to the bathroom. They're there for your success and for your learning. So if you need help with something, ask. If you need office hours, sign up for that or send an email. And that's another thing to note. If you think you need an extension for something, either because something happened in your life that's making it hard to do work, or just for mental health reasons where you don't feel prepared to take an exam or submit an assignment, 100% of the time you should ask the professor for that extension. And more often than not, they're compassionate and they will give that to you.
And same goes for like, if you get a terrible mark and you either think that it was an incorrect mark or you don't know what you did wrong, contact the professor or the TA. I mean, just last year, I made a really stupid mistake. I submitted my assignment and I didn't check to see if it had submitted properly, and I had submitted an empty folder. And I mean, third year students shouldn't do that. But the professor let me resubmit the assignment anyway. So I mean, the worst they can say is, no, you can't resubmit it. So just email them. If you make a stupid mistake, if you get a bad mark, email them and ask if they are willing to remark.
Yeah, definitely be nice about it too.
Yes.
I had this one prof who was a total hard ass. It was for, I think, a machine learning course. I don't remember who it was, but he was a really rough guy. I handed an assignment that I worked like 3 days before the deadline on, like, just grinded it out completely, and then got a horrible mark back. So I, sent a very nicely worded email being like, hey man, I think this works. Recorded a video with timestamps of all the files and stuff of me going through it. It was like, okay, it didn't run on my computer, but I see you really worked on this and the content is there. Gave me a fully revised mark. So don't just take those L's.
And I also just want to point out that a lot of profs are super willing to also like develop like relationships with their students. So if you take the time and effort to like, communicate with your profs regularly, reach out to them, it also like can lead to like research opportunities for you. You might even get a prof that can like write you a reference letter for a job. Put yourself out there, be kind, communicate with your profs. It'll reward you in your career here.
Cool. If no one else has anything to say about that, I think I'm going to move on to the next question. Sean, you ask, what is the most challenging part of 2750? I hope we just answered that. Literally just managing your time is probably the hardest part. And just continually chopping away while you're also in the other courses like algorithms and OS and whatever other electives you're taking.
Ryan, can I just add something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so like second year is also really hard because like for a lot of people, it's the first time you've ever living on your own. Like, I don't know what living situation you have, especially because of this panoramic, like, things are a little different. But for like second year, like, oh, not only do I have to like do all my assignments and go to class and stuff, but I have to cook for myself and like take care of myself as a human being. Like that can also like make second year a little bit harder than you are. So maybe practice working on taking care of yourself this summer to get ready for second year.
That's a fantastic point. I'm sure for a lot of you, it might be your first time living alone. So definitely try to take care of yourself and don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it.
Learn a couple of like huge ass meals that you guys can make, because that's something I really suffered. I know how to cook. Like I feel like I'm a great cook. I don't know, I'm gassing myself a little bit, but one of the main things I did was I would only make like one meal, right? Whereas I can just add like literally another cup of pasta to the pot and make like double the times. And then on a night that I'm really busy and I don't want to cook dinner because I have so many assignments, stuff like that, I just heat up the extra food. There's tons of stuff online that you can see. Like I've literally made like probably 5 meals at once in the oven, and like that's probably most I've ever done. And it's like that week was great for me. I got so many assignments done. I had food all the time, and it was good food too, because I made sure to like, it wasn't like quick pizza pockets or anything like that. Like, but yeah, that's just a personal thing that I definitely made sure to do.
Get an Instapot or a slow cooker or something. It's huge.
Really big frying pan. It's the biggest frying pan you can find.
But yeah. Okay, so I believe there's also a question about what programming languages we are going to learn in our second year. Specifically, I could talk about 2750. Currently, obviously, like our back end is made in C, and then our front end is the normal. Well, I guess our front end we're actually using HTML, CSS, obviously. And then Dennis has permitted us to use jQuery, which is just like another sort of JavaScript framework. I believe it makes like you can do the same stuff in native JavaScript, except it's a lot less programming and a lot less to learn. Additionally, he's also imported Bootstrap, which is like a CSS styling thing, or a different style sheet for us. Again, it's just helping us create styles easier without having to write like native CSS. But I believe that we're allowed to import anything that we want into that assignment, as long as like there's no security issues with it or anything. And then I believe the fourth assignment for 2750 is also a little bit of SQL. Other than that, my object-oriented class in first semester, we were learning Java. And I believe that's all from the mandatory courses. I don't know if anybody else can speak to that. I don't know if I missed one. Oh, actually, with Gerwal, I forget the class. What's the like super small computer class, microprocessors.
Yeah.
Yeah, we learned
2030?
some. Yeah, 2030. We learned some assembly for. It's part of the 3600, like Motorola 3600K assembly architecture. It's closely linked to like other assembly languages, but yeah, that's I believe all the assembly or all the languages that we use in second year. Cool. We have a question that I do not know the answer to. Do you recommend learning Spring Boot? I believe we actually better not use Spring Boot at work, but I've actually no clue what it does.
Yeah.
So
Spring Boot. You want to go, Kiefer? I know you
Yeah,
did Spring
well, okay.
Boot.
I'm going to provide a negative opinion. So if you want
Yeah.
to do the positive opinion first, then go for it.
Okay, yeah, Spring Boot is pretty commonly used, I suppose, as a framework for JavaScript. It's basically sets up a project for you, makes it a lot easier to manage entities and basically not write an entire backend from scratch with Java. I use it at work with Ryan. It serves our entire web application. I think it's pretty good, although I don't have experience with other Java frameworks for getting the same job done. Most of my backend experience lies in Java. I think it's pretty good. If I were going to make a relatively large scale backend for a project, I'd probably do in Spring Boot because it just gives you a pretty easy avenue for managing your entities and your API.
So everything that Ben said is correct. But I'm going to just say my personal opinion is don't learn Spring Boot. Spring Boot is this gigantic Java framework. It's huge. Not everybody uses it, but like a lot of people use it. If you look up web programming in Java, you're probably going to find Spring Boot articles, but it's not the only way to do things. And also Spring Boot kind of teaches you some like idioms and patterns that don't exist in other places. It's a highly opinionated framework that doesn't work for everything, and it has certain weird quirks. If you want to spend the time to learn it, sure, do it. But odds are you're going to have some time to learn it on a job if you need to know it for a job. So I wouldn't invest that time to learn Spring Boot, because what's really more important is that you just understand the concepts of like web programming, what a backend is, how it interacts with a database, how it serves a front end, and then use those like abstract skills and apply them to whatever software technology it is that you're going to be using. It doesn't make sense, in my opinion, to invest that time upfront to learn this gigantic framework if you're not necessarily even going to be using it in the future.
I actually completely agree with that. There's no reason to go ahead and learn it. Like know a bit of Java so you know what's going on if you get dropped into a Spring Boot project at a job or something. I'd say the only reason to learn something that specific was if you're gunning for a specific job that you know uses Spring Boot. Because if you know Java, you'll go into Spring Boot and it's basically just a Java project that's set up for you. And then you Google a couple things here and there when you don't know what's going on, and you'll figure it out. So Kiefer's right, not worth spending the time to learn that specific facet of programming when you could be investing into just general skills.
cool, awesome. Yeah, good answers from both. I'm gonna move on to the next question, and that is, what do you recommend doing during the summer to prepare for next year's courses? Are there any specific resources in mind? We'll open
I'd
up the
say
floor.
for second year, if you're worried about Angel, watch that seminar on the SOCIS channel. Other than that, I don't think there's any real value in trying to prepare for specific courses. If you can just invest in yourself as a programmer, do some interest-based projects where it's something you're interested in and you're not just forcing yourself to pre-study for things, I think that would probably take you a lot further.
One piece of advice I would have is that if you have never written a software project that has unit tests, learn what unit tests are, and then get yourself familiar with that process, because it's going to help you a lot in 2750 and then also in every other course that you take in the future. Having some sort of testing suite or framework that is your own gives you the peace of mind that if you make a change in your code that might break something, you don't have to spend hours and hours trying to find that bug, because your testing suite will catch it. So learn unit tests and then build yourself a small unit testing framework and suite anytime you make a new project. It'll save you a lot of time.
I'd also say this is kind of aimed specifically for the object-oriented programming. I'm assuming you're going to be doing a GUI the way that we did when I took it. If you haven't used an IDE that lets you easily make a GUI, find one and learn it, because you don't want to be learning how to use a new IDE while you're also trying to do an assignment. I did it and it was not fun. So if you don't have a nice IDE that will let you do that kind of thing easily, start looking around for them.
So I just took OO, and we're actually no longer doing like GUIs. The way that we run our programs now are through like Gradle, which is basically just like, as the way I understand it, just make for yeah, Kiefer's happy about that. But yeah, we're using Gradle it's basically like make for C, except it's for Java, and we're just writing like a little command line game. But yeah, just in terms of, I think that like to branch off of what both Kiefer and Ellen are both saying, like testing is absolutely going to be important for 2750, and it's also a really, really good skill for software development. In object oriented, you're going to be, or at least we use something called JUnit, which was a unit testing framework for Java. Judy, personally, I thought that, actually, I'm not going to go into opinions about that, but basically, like any sort of testing will really help you not only throughout like 2750, but also in your general software development, like learning GDB for C, which is just the like GNU debugger, or C is super helpful for me with all of my projects right now and all of my classes. Kiefer actually sent me like a unit testing framework for C, which I kind of dove into, and it was super useful for the project that I was working on then. Just generally knowing how to write good tests is going to be like something that will really help you throughout not only your courses, but also other software development. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just gonna talk about the unit testing framework that Ryan mentioned. If you're looking for a unit testing framework for C, look into CMOCA. It's CMOCKA. That is like the best like de facto testing library for C. That's all. Sorry.
No worries. Yeah. What everyone said, plus, or just like maybe take the time to learn Java or the C debugger or JS if you have never used it. Like do a hackathon or two in the summer and just like spend a little bit of time building that skills in like a fun, exciting way. Because I don't know about you guys, but if I say, oh, I want to work on this side project, I personally will not unless like there's a hackathon that makes me do it. And also what I said about like learn how to cook and do laundry and take care of yourself, because that's going to be really important too in second year if you're in a situation where you have to take care of yourself.
We'll throw something onto there too. If you are really wanting to prepare for your courses, especially the C ones for next year, learning the GDB debugger and maybe a bit of Valgrind, it'd be a good idea to get some background on it and go in with that knowledge. I have a whole Git repository and tutorial slides for how to use it that have been passed around a bit. I think some profs include it now, but I can find that and send it to this chat, and that would probably be worth taking a look at if you're worried about starting from scratch at the beginning of any C projects next year.
Yeah, also take a look at the Guelph coding community GitHub. We have like a bunch of like archived and old repositories from talks that students have given in the past on these sorts of subjects. So if you're not really familiar with Git, there's a presentation on there about how to get good with Git. There's also talks about how to like get good with Bash and how to get good with all of these other tools that you need to kind of be a successful like young software developer. So check out the Guelph coding community GitHub repository if you're bored and you're looking for like little student run tutorials that have actually been created by Guelph students, because they'll be like the most relevant.
Kiefer and Ben, if you both want to drop links whenever you can into the chat to both those. Oh, I see Sarah's already dropped the Guelph community GitHub. I actually used Ben's slides in a course to learn GDB, and now I'm an absolute wizard with GDB. So his slides are a great intro to GDB. Yeah, other than that, I think we're going to move on to the next question unless anyone else has anything else to say. I'll take that as a no. So I see that Trisha is asking if there are any examples of good beginner-friendly personal projects. This is always a struggle question for so many people. Like, where do my ideas? How do I get ideas for good resume projects and stuff like that? If any of the upper years have any really good personal projects that they think help them, go for it.
So I'm an extremely uncreative person. I am very bad at coming up with ideas for personal projects. All of my personal projects are basically problems that I've wanted to solve that I haven't found like another solution for that I was really happy with. But before I like had like a portfolio of personal projects, the first thing I did was build myself a website. If you don't have a website, like a personal website where you can like have like a little blog, like a little blurb about yourself, that's like, I think the first thing that you should do. It'll give you like a good intro to like web programming and what it's like to have like build a website. It'll give you a good idea of like how to talk about yourself, which is a good skill for networking. And it'll give you a web presence, which you're gonna want in the future for like, you know, when recruiters are looking for you, when you are actually looking to start like establish your career. So first project you should do, build yourself a website. If you wanted, there are like a million different ways you can do it. One of the easiest ways to do it is with a static website generator on GitHub pages or GitLab pages or whatever it is you want to use. But you can also roll it your own way. That's my recommendation.
Cool. I also know that like, let's say if you're heading into like your co-op term and this is like your last summer to work on personal projects and stuff like that, and again, let's say you're interested in some sort of like embedded systems programming and you really want to get involved in that to put those projects on your resume. One point is that even embedded systems engineers need personal websites. So they don't need it, but personal websites for them are great. So always have your personal website. But two, I also know that if you search up on GitHub, on all of GitHub, and you search up like awesome-c or awesome-java, there's a whole bunch of like repositories that will give you a list of like things that are related to like Java or related to C, and they'll give you a whole bunch of projects. Like, I remember when I was searching up awesome C, it gave me some ideas to make like my own blockchain and stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of personal projects that you could get into just by searching up these lists on GitHub. But yeah, that's definitely my opinion on that. Does anyone else have anything else to say?
Just for ideas, you look up simple or weekend personal project ideas, and you'll find a million YouTube videos and, you know, dev.to articles for it. You don't really have to be creative with it. If you find one that sounds interesting or useful, just take a crack at it, honestly.
And also, like, don't forget you have assignments that you can build off of. If you're struggling to find an idea, if there was an assignment that you really enjoyed, take that, clean it up, try to extend it in some way. I mean, you don't have to build something from scratch as a personal project. You can use an assignment that you worked on in the past.
Yeah, I know that 2500 does some sort of like cryptography assignment, at least when I was in 2500, and that kind of got me like interested in that. So definitely always look at your assignments and see if there's any interest that can be sparked from those to work on personal projects.
It'll also teach you to really be good at your documentation, because if you pick up an assignment from a semester ago and you didn't document it, you're going to learn really fast. You've got to document that stuff because you're not going to understand it.
Yeah.
Also, if we're going through, a recruiter or interviewer is going through your GitHub and trying to check out your personal projects, having good documentation in there instantly gives you a huge one up, because A, I know what's going on, and B, I will assume that you might document something while working for me.
Yeah, I once had an entire interview where this guy went through my GitHub and asked me questions about it. So that could happen, and it's really nice. Like dude said, if you have pictures or even GIFs of like your thing in work, like that is a big plus. I got yelled at for not having pictures. What a time.
That sounds so stressful.
Yeah.
It was awful.
My GitHub's a mess.
Okay. So Manfrey asks, what companies were you placed in during co-op terms and what kind of work was expected of you? Yeah, I'm gonna open the floor again.
There's not a ton of time. I'm fully just gonna drop my co-op website in the chat.
Yeah, I'll do the same.
Yeah.
I think, wait, I don't know if I scheduled, is it till 3? Does this event end at 3 or 4? I thought I put 4 on the Gryphslack thing.
It's still 4?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. What do the advertisements say?
Well, I'll stick around at least.
Yeah, if you guys need to leave, please just let me know. Or it's not let me know. Yeah, you can just say like, hey, bye, thanks for having me. Otherwise, I'm going to probably stick around till 4 and answer some more questions. So if you guys want to go in depth about your co-ops and stuff like that, more than welcome to. I'm sorry, I don't know if the advertisement said till 3 or not.
The advertisement just says that it starts at 2. It doesn't have an end time.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
Heard.
I think I SERM this event for 4 o'clock. So, but SERMs.
Cool. I will be right back.
All right, sounds good. Cool. So anybody has any interesting co-ops to talk about, or maybe talk about like how you got that placement, sort of what led up to the interview, what it led up to the events.
Sure. I think I'm gonna save you the boring details of, like what I did and what jobs I had, because that's all like written down on my website, and everybody is gonna have to write down what they did on their co-op. It's part of the co-op experience. So you can just look for like Guelph co-op blog, and you can get an idea of what people did on their co-ops. For me, the like big thing that like really kicked off my experience in co-op was I started working with a couple of professors, doing a research assistantship in my first year and in my second year. And I got my first co-op job through a recommendation by one of the profs that I was working for. So that is kind of like how I got started. There are lots of different ways you can get started with your co-op journey. If there is like, I don't know, look up like what profs do, and then see if there's like someone who has research interests that align with you. See if you can get a research assistantship. That can open doors for you. That's how I got started. Yeah, I don't know if anyone else has any other advice.
I think just the main thing that it comes down to is networking. Like as you said, like your networking was talking to a prof and getting stuff done like that. I personally got my co-op job because it's kind of a bit of luck, but also because like I feel like I'm a pretty sociable person. I'm able to like talk to a whole bunch of people, and so like just through SOCIS, I talked to Ben quite a bit, and I like in SOCIS I was able to show sort of my work ethic and how I can perform professionally in a way. And Ben was like, yeah, like I think that, or Ben decided to ask me if I wanted a job or anything like that because he saw how I was and how social and yeah, just how I performed during SOCIS and stuff like that. I think yeah, the main thing it just comes down to is networking, talking to other people, and a little bit of luck because you can network yourself with like 1,000 people and still not get a job, but you can network yourself with like the perfect one person and get lucky and get them like they'll hire you on or something like that.
Yeah, there's also a really big network of Guelph alumni who have positions where they are recruiting and hiring co-ops. So if you get kind of in touch with the alumni that are on Gryphslack, let them know that you're looking for a job. They'll also be posting when they're looking for co-ops. Developing like a kind of relationship that way is like maybe a good way to land your first co-op as well. Everybody's co-op jobs and experiences are going to be super different. So
yeah, I know that like I was hired on with 2 other people. One of them again just through like networking, knowing people through SOCIS, and the other one actually got hired on because he participated with like one of my colleagues in a hackathon. And that guy thought that he was really good in the hackathon, so he was like, hey, like my job has an opening, and he got hired on. Again, I think it all just comes down to networking, just talking to a whole bunch of different people, and having those relationships. It'll increase your chances at getting a co-op opportunity or just a job opportunity in general.
I also just want to comment and say that this isn't like these skills like that we're talking about don't apply just to co-op students. If you're not a co-op student, you can still get an internship in the summer, and like there are still people who would be like willing to hire you even if you're not officially a co-op student. Getting the experience is like what matters, really, and you don't have to kind of give up if you're not in co-op. We spend a lot of time talking about co-op because we have a really good co-op program, but it's not all about it. So
Yeah, basically everything we said in terms of co-op is just applies to getting a job as a student. I missed the start of this, but I'm a huge what do I say? As the idea of being, trying to socialize and network, I really, really like to stress the importance of that because I was a non-co-op student. So I was kind of trying to just do whatever I can to, get my foot in any door I could see. So just trying to make yourself visible as a student, be active in Gryphslack or the Discords maybe. Gryphslack is huge though, just because there's so many alumni around there. And when an opportunity presents yourself and you have people that know you and have you in mind, you're probably likely to land something, or a lot more likely. And at least in my case, terrible student, really didn't have great grades, not gonna lie. What I just didn't suit me very well, so I just spec'd super hard into getting to know people and going to events and stuff, and it ended up working out for me.
Crazy. Now, what position are you at Value Connect? How
Yeah,
far did you make it?
Yeah, so a couple years I've come up from junior dev to leading the team. So I'm managing 5 devs, including Ryan. He's all right. No, Ryan's a sick guy. So,
No,
he hasn't left a bad taste in my mouth regarding hiring co-ops, that's for sure.
I'm just more talking to the point about like, hey, like Ben, you weren't that great in school, but like, you're literally graduating and you're already a lead dev, right? Just through like the work that you've put in and the opportunities that you've been able to have. So like, don't stress about that kind of stuff. A big thing that you need to do to get a job in the like computer science industry is networking.
Yeah, I've definitely interviewed a lot of people who grinded school to the extreme, had like 4.0 GPAs, but had no personal projects, no personal website, and no connections whatsoever, and didn't work well in a team. And those people I did not like nearly as much as the ones who clearly went out and tried to do things and apply themselves to things other than school.
Cool. Okay. So unless does anyone else have anything else to say about that? Otherwise, I'm gonna start moving on to some of the questions that Sarah has sent us from her story. Please continue to ask any questions you guys have in the chat box, and we'll continue to answer them. But otherwise, I'm gonna read off these other questions. So, one interesting one that I see is best one-liner advice to give for a first year. What do you guys have in terms of that?
stop procrastinating.
Never.
Mine is kind of like the thesis of it. I feel like everything I've said so far, but take care of yourself first, grade second.
I think mine would be find a hobby that is not programming. You will drive yourself insane if that's the only thing that you do.
Oh yeah, I can relate to that so hard. I like don't mean to take away from like the other like one-liner advices here, but early on in my CS degree, I was just like super hardcore, 100%. All I do is code, and I burnt myself out real fast. It was not a good time. Find a hobby, please. For me, baking and rock climbing are where I found my interests for free time. Yeah, the physical activity, super good. Something artistic. Baking is artistic. It's fun. It's tasty.
Isn't like a triangle of hobbies, like one that like improves your knowledge and career prospects, one that exercises your body, and one that involves creativity?
Yeah, try and find that like trifecta.
Yeah, I think one of them has to do with like if you find a job that increases your activity and like actually, I don't know, something like that. But yeah, I think all of these like one-liners kind of have to do with like your health and maybe specifically your mental health. So please like focus on your mental health, because you can have a 4.0 GPA, but like, are you happy? You know what I mean? Like you can have a 4.0 and be sad. Like I don't want to live a life like that. Like I have 4.0, but I'm like miserable. Like so yeah.
School.
Just definitely be like make sure your health comes before your grades and before schooling, because you don't want to mess up your mental health and your health for the rest of your life just because of schooling, and you're only in school for like 4 years, right? These are also like the most developmental years that we're in. So yeah, just make sure you guys are focusing on your mental health.
Yeah,
Um,
my one liner would probably be invest in your social life, because I think, that means you have people to support you, job prospects if you have a bunch of friends in the field, especially if you join a student club. You're meeting people and working with people on the regular who are 2 years up from you and probably graduating. Again, like me and Ryan. Ryan, I've met him as a first year, now he's just a second year, and I'm out of here. But he'll have this connection with me for a long time.
I'm excited. Okay. Yeah. Does anyone else have any other advice? Cool. I think I'm going to move on to some co-op specific related questions. Again, any questions that are co-op related apply to like other jobs, or just generally the computer science industry. One of the ones that has been answered so far is like, what are some interview tips for co-op? What do you guys have for that?
I'd say practice makes perfect. So get a bunch of your pals who are also in co-op and interview each other. Like, go full out, put on your blazer, ask the hardest questions, like make them code for you, like hop on a Zoom, share your screen, like do all that stuff, because that's what interviews are going to look like. And just get your pals to interview you. And if you don't have pals, make some and interview them.
As far as like interview process goes, the way that most places work is you're going to have like a screening. There's going to be a phone call, then there's going to be like a technical interview. So the phone calls, like just like be yourself, try and be friendly, speak to your experience. For the screeners, a lot of the time they're just kind of like, you don't really talk to anybody. Just do your best. And then when it comes to the technical interview, this is like where everybody gets really scared. What every recruiter that I have ever met is looking for is they want to hear you communicate and problem solve while you're coding. So even if you get stuck, like don't be afraid, ask for help. Just say, hey, I'm stuck. I need some time to think about this. Like, this is like my thought process, and think out loud. It gives the person on the other end of the call an idea of what it's like to work with you and how you problem solve. And that's what, at the end of the day, what they're hiring for. So that's my best advice for how to like succeed in an interview. Just be like open with your communication, try and relax. For me, like anytime I had an interview, I had like this ritual where like an hour or two before an interview, I'd like just kind of like sit down. I'd like have myself like a nice meal, make sure that I like was like full, drink a lot of water, and then like go to the bathroom, come back, like write like a little bit of code just to get myself in the right headspace, and then do nothing for 20 minutes and just chill out until the call. And that worked really well for me.
Sounds very healthy. I like that. I'd say similar things. Don't worry about being stressed, because people expect you to be stressed. It's not too pressing. You can't just decide not to be stressed for an interview, basically. Don't worry about not getting the job. Just worry about conveying to them what you're about, what your strengths are, and be honest. I mean, you don't have to be super honest about all of your faults or anything, because you're trying to get the job, but you're basically having a conversation about why you would be a good candidate for the job. You're not trying to finesse them or fool them or anything. Just be honest, and you'll have a much better time getting on if they hire you, because they got to know you and what you're about, than if you tried to project this image to them, which is something that's very easy to fail at. They can see through that.
Yeah, I think that one of the like best advice that I've ever seen is like mainly when you're getting a tech interview or anything like that, the people who are interviewing you just want to see if they can work alongside you for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, right? Like Ben can maybe attest to this more, but I like bombed the technical side of my interview. Like they're asking me like Java questions that I had absolutely no clue about. But I made sure to like prove that like when I can't figure out a problem or something, I'm not like all over the place. I'm not nervous, or something like that. Like I try and make sure that like I'm calm, and like showing them how I problem solve and stuff like that, just so that I know that when they work with me, they're gonna want to work with me for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. I think that was like a super solid advice that I saw for any sort of interview. You just want to show them that.
Yeah. For an example of what not to do, I had this one applicant one time where she did pretty well in the in-person interview. I wasn't too impressed. for various reasons, but they seem like they could be a good candidate. And I gave her a take-home project it was for QA. I gave her a take-home to write tests for a little application that we'd made. And the next day we go into a meeting to review her test, and she said, I didn't know how to do it, so I didn't do it. Yeah. And it was just like head bust. I was kind of speechless, just like, okay, well, we'll get back to you then. And it's just there was no attempt really. So show them that you're trying, that you will apply yourself and try to learn, because basically anyone could have Googled around and figured out how to do that task. So don't be that person who just throws in the towel.
Yeah. Cool. Does anyone else have any other advice? Give out. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to the next question. Cool. I think this might be the last one related to co-op. It's how many placements should I apply to? Yeah.
Until you
As
get a
many
job.
as you can. As many
Yeah.
as you can that interest you, because you don't want to apply to something you wouldn't actually want to work for. But like, don't be picky. First co-op is not a time to be choosy.
Just to quickly interject, the main reason why you want to only apply to things that you're interested in, but like plenty of things that you're interested in, is because Guelph has a 2 decline rule, meaning that you can only like decline twice before you have to take the next job, no matter what. That's just because like Guelph and the companies that are what do you have to interject, Kiefer?
I want to interject.
Go ahead.
So your 2 decline rule, mostly correct, but you don't have to take that last job. It just means that you can't apply to jobs on the Guelph job board anymore. You can still do networked applications.
Facts.
So
yes.
you're not jobless. You can still find a job, just not using the Guelph resources. And then you can talk to Kate and Laura and be like, hey, I found this job. It's really cool. I'm really excited by it. It meets the co-op requirements, I think. Please take a look at this. It's a network job. And then they'll probably give it to you and say it's good for co-op.
Yeah, and then just to go on, like the reason why we have that is because Guelph and the like companies that come into the co-op, they have like a sort of contract, stuff like that. And if we have so many people like declining, then that's kind of like messed up, right? Like you're going until this, like the companies come to this job board to make sure that they fill this position with people. And if everyone's just declining, then like there's no point in doing this. And then Guelph's co-op board kind of looks bad. And yeah, it makes sense that we have the 2 decline rule. But yeah.
Also, our co-op board is very good. I just want to say that. It's very good. There are a lot of jobs. A lot of schools don't even have co-op job boards. And if they do, they're like just abysmal. And we have a very, very good one. We have a very, very, very good co-op team working for the School of Computer Science. Love Kate and Laura. They're just the best.
Shout out Kate and Laura. They're great.
Shout out to Kate and Laura. Love them.
Okay. I guess we can move on. This is a SOCIS related question. And that would be like, can we explain some of the different SOCIS positions? And maybe we can also go into GWIX. And I don't know when your guys' elections are, but if you can maybe talk about that too, and how you can get involved with GWIX more. Kiefer, you're the most knowledgeable on this. So I could talk about it, but I might say something wrong. So
okay, what was the question? Like
SOCIS positions, basically like whatever's in the Constitution.
Oh, okay. Well, then for that, let me just refer you to our Constitution. Go to socis.ca/about. There's a PDF embed. You can read the 27-page document. I'm kidding. What it comes down to is the SOCIS exec is just a core team of students who are really passionate about computing at Guelph. We're the biggest computing club at Guelph. So our job basically is to make sure that there are lots of events and opportunities for students to take care of, to take advantage of, to further their education and have fun in the process. So as president, the thing that I do is make sure that our club is running effectively. And then I also kind of check in with the other clubs that are accredited underneath SOCIS, make sure that they're running smoothly as well. And I rep the whole student body to what's called the School of Computer Science Council. So this is a council of staff and faculty who work for the School of Computer Science. They have like an agenda most of the time. Sometimes they do like votes, and just give them a student perspective on the things that they're concerned with. there's also a program committee. So SOCIS always has 2 students who are on the program committee. They meet once or twice a year to make decisions about curriculum changes, curriculum reviews, that sort of thing. And then beyond that, what we do is we just run events. We make sure that our clubs are successful, and we manage the student funds that we're given to provide this like really awesome extracurricular experience. For the like specific exec positions that exist, I mean, you have on this panel, you have your VP social. So Ryan can talk to you about his position in more detail, but what he does is he kind of plans these sorts of events. So this thing that we're doing right now, this is all Ryan. Well, not all Ryan. It's a group effort, and Sarah played like a huge part. But Ryan makes sure that like these events are approved and that they can happen. And then Sarah and Ben are your year reps, so they kind of assess like student perspectives, trying to understand what it is that you want from like the varying year levels. SOCIS exec is very diverse in terms of year levels, so we don't always all have the full picture. That's why we have these year reps to make sure that we're serving the student body super effectively. Other cool positions that are available, I think, is Matt still on this call here?
Yes.
Yeah, Matt is. So Matt is our current VP internal. He's basically does, maybe Matt, you can talk about what you do, but he provides kind of like an interface for SOCIS to the college student council, as well as like other clubs. And then there's the VP external, which their job is to rep SOCIS to, there's this really cool new intercollegiate organization called C Cubed. It's the Computing Councils of Canada, which is like building this really awesome countrywide network of undergrads in computing. So VP external plays a pretty important role representing our perspective on that in that organization, as well as a few other things. What am I missing?
If there's any specifically that you're missing, you guys are more interested in, I think in total we have president, VP internal, VP external, VP finance, VP communications, VP social, sysadmin, and then all our year reps. But yeah, if you guys are like more interested in specifics about what Kiefer's talking about, you can actually like, I know you said it as a joke, but I think it's actually like super useful. If you go to socis.ca/about, you scroll down a little bit, you see the Constitution, go to part 3 of the governing body. I swear it sounds like a constitution, so it sounds like super long, but it's not that long. You can get a quick gist of what you're supposed to do as a like in the different roles. But if this question is specifically coming from the fact that like you don't know which role to apply to, like I may have like specific duties as VP social to do stuff, but that doesn't limit me from getting involved in a whole bunch of other stuff in SOCIS, right? Like I am trying to help out with everybody else's events and just kind of like getting involved as much as I can with SOCIS and what other people are doing. It doesn't specifically limit me to like only doing VP social stuff. So apply to like what interests you the most. Yeah, you'll have some specific duties, but most of it comes with like how much you really want to be applying yourself to SOCIS. And yeah,
it's a huge team effort. With like we have like technical roles, but it's a very flat hierarchy the way that we operate our club. So lots of opportunities to be involved, and also we manage a makerspace on campus when we have a campus. So if you want to get involved in things that aren't programming, and play with like a 3D printer and like network like weird little devices together, that's something that you can do. We manage that. We're also planning on building a virtual makerspace over the next maybe year or so. So what that would look like is like resources that are specific for Guelph students that are available online to kickstart like projects and stuff. Lots of really cool plans that are in the works. And if you apply to be SOCIS exec, you get to be a part of making those plans reality.
Just to interject, if you happen to go by SOCIS.ca to look at that constitution and decide it doesn't look very good, please feel free to come get some experience with revamping the website with me and some other students. We're redesigning the whole thing, and I would love some more hands on deck with that.
definitely drop a link for that, the GitHub repo and chat. Guys, we're
Facts.
also super open to like teaching people new things and stuff like that. So if you want to learn like how to contribute to open source projects, you want to learn like how project structure works and like specifically how you want to do pull requests and stuff like that on the GitHub repo, reach out, especially on gryph.slack.com. Anybody will be there. You can reach out to any of us on Slack, anywhere. Basically, you can email us and we'll probably also like help you out there. So it's super beginner friendly, and
Yep. I
anyone
will hold
can,
your hand through the whole thing. Just
Yeah.
please.
and then you could also add like open source contributor to your resume and look fresh.
Nice.
So
Yeah. I'm sorry, everyone. I actually have to get going, but thank you for having me. Good luck to everyone else.
Cool.
And
Bye, Ben.
have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks for coming out, man.
Of course.
I think that I rambled about SOCIS for a really long time. Maybe if Ellen or Julia want to ramble about Gwix for a really long time, we should have that opportunity.
Sure. So we've actually already we've already closed our applications for next year's GWix exec team, but that doesn't mean you can't apply next year. So we've got a much smaller team. It's only 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 5 positions. So we have 2 co-presidents, the events manager, financial manager, and marketing manager. The same as SOCIS, we really all do work together on everything. If one person can't look after their own duties, then somebody else will do it. And yeah, so I mean, even if you apply to a particular position, you're going to be able to be involved in everything, especially because it's such a small team. So for myself, I'm the marketing manager, which basically just means I look after our social media accounts. I also do any of the graphics that you see for advertising. Those are usually me. And when we had events in person, I did the photography for those events. That's my non-programming hobby. So it was a really good fit. Julia can talk about her position.
Yeah, so I'm the financial manager. So I make budgets and send e-transfers. It's pretty advanced stuff, guys. But like, you know, we're such a small team. Like as Ellen was saying, like I was like, I want a tea party, and so I just organized the whole thing, and everyone was okay with it. You know, like we're a really close-knit club. Also, keep your eyes and ears open next year for our year rep positions, because those happen in September. And we would love to have you on our team as year reps. We do that election just at a different time than SOCIS does. But yeah, I definitely recommend like joining our team.
And who can apply to GWix?
Women and non-binary individuals in computer science. But like if you're in computer engineering, please come join us. If your minor is computer science and you have a major in like whatever, come join us. Like we're here for you.
Sick. Okay. Cool. And just quick, are all your positions filled after that election?
We haven't had the election yet. We've just had our applications, so we're going to be having the voting soon.
Do you guys have apps for each position?
Yeah.
Nice. Congrats. Yay. Yeah, so whole team next year. A
woman or a non-binary individual in computer science, vote. Vote for me.
Wait, are you okay? Cool. So if we're done with GWix and SOCIS, I'm just gonna move on to some course related questions that Sarah got from her stories. So what are some good I'm just gonna open up the floor for everything. What are some good electives for second year? Like what they may not be available now, but like what electives did you guys take during second year?
I honestly cannot remember what was an elective and what was a required course. But I have a good elective for fourth year, if I can say that. Take game programming if you have the opportunity. It's only offered in the winter every other year. I'm taking it right now. It's challenging, it's hard, but it is a lot of fun. And I really recommend it if your schedule lines up to allow you to take it.
We were talking about this earlier, but 2170, I think, is the design one. It's a 0.75 course. It's in the winter, and a lot of people take that in the winter semester of second year just because that way you have a 2.5 course load, but with 4 credits. And honestly, it's not. It's good for learning, and it's good for a very stressful workload. it won't really add to that stress that much. So I recommend that, though I haven't taken it. People recommended it to me.
I'm taking it in my final semester just because compilers is also one of those hard courses like 2170, and it's a good one to take alongside because the workload is it's not that it is demanding, but it's not stressful. It's like super fun. So it doesn't feel like it's a lot of work. I'm just looking at my transcript right now, actually, just to figure out what electives I took in second year because it was so long ago.
I would recommend like first year courses that interest you. You know, like as long as you like something and you can tolerate learning about it, like just do that. If you're 19 plus, in the winter, there's like a wine tasting course. That's pretty exciting. I want to take that next year, so I'll see you there.
For me, my philosophy, my like go-to has kind of always been take courses that you're interested in, because if I take courses that I'm not interested in that I think maybe like easy, like I'm not going to follow along and I'm probably going to fall behind and it's probably going to be terrible for me. So like personally, I'm interested in like a lot of philosophy and psychology stuff, so I'm taking courses that have to do with that as my electives, and you know, it's keeping me engaged, so I'm actually like keeping up with the work. But yeah, that's probably my 2 cents. Also, I don't know the exact like rules and stuff like that, but I know that you like only take a limited amount of first year courses, and additionally, in order to complete, like to graduate, you have to finish an area of application which just says like how many courses you take outside of CIS courses that you need to graduate. And if anybody needs like info on that and they're super curious, you can message me on Slack or wherever you find me, and I can definitely get that information to you guys. It's just I don't have it on the top of my head right now. But yeah, just so that people are aware of that.
So I finished looking.
First year credits. Sorry, keep going.
No, go ahead.
It's 6 first year credits. You can't have more than that, or else they won't count it.
Cool. So like 12 first year courses essentially. Cool.
Yeah, so it's a pretty high limit. You can take a lot of first year courses if you want to.
I do know people who've complained about like not being able to take a first year course in their last semester though, like last year. So be wary of it. Don't take too many first year courses.
I just finished looking at my transcript and I took absolutely no fun electives in my second year. I just took really boring math courses. I'm doing a math minor, so that's why I took those. But if you're looking for really fun courses, I think in my first year, I took Introduction to German and Linguistics, and those were super fun. So if you're looking to learn a new language or learn more about like how grammar is structured, that sounds really stupid and weird, but it's actually highly applicable to computing. I'd recommend those. Like pick up a new language, take a linguistics course. Those are cool. You're gonna be learning a lot of new computer languages. It also sometimes might make sense to learn about how natural languages are structured. Also math is cool. But
just to add on to the first year course thing, this is actually my second degree. So my course load has been a little bit lighter than most people's would be. But back when I did my first degree in my final semester, I had enough first year credits left over that I could take 2 first year courses in my final semester. And I really recommend it because you are burnt out by your final semester, and it's really nice to have a couple of easy first year courses that you're actually interested in. That, I mean, by the time you're in 4th year, those first year courses, you can get pretty good marks in them.
Nice, cool. So I'm gonna move on. We have one question that's kind of specific. It says, first semester of second year has 4 courses. Do you recommend we take the 5th or leave it at 4 due to the amount of coursework already? I personally think that like graduating on time, like forcing yourself to graduate on time if you're going to ruin your mental health, is totally dumb. Like everyone always like focuses on like, oh, I have to get this amount of courses in so that I can graduate on time. Like if you can afford it, and like yeah, if you can afford it, definitely you can do it in like 6 or 7 years. I totally hate making people like think that they need to finish their like degree on time and stuff like that. So if your like mental health allows for it, go for the 5 courses. But for me personally, like this semester, I'm taking 4 courses, which are the 4 mandatory courses for second semester in second year. And I also have a part-time job. So I decided not to take a 5th course because I thought that like it's going to improve my mental health, and it generally has. I think if I had a fifth course, like I'd be completely overloaded. I'd be burnt out. I wouldn't have any time for like a social life or any extra things to do outside of school. Yeah, that's my 2 cents on it.
Just keep track of your credit count, because you do have to meet 20 minimum credits to graduate. And if you're in honors, you actually do have a time limit on the amount of years you can take to graduate with honors. So just beware of that. I think it's 5 years. It might be 6. I'd have to double check that. But it came up recently. I have a friend of mine who was supposed to be graduating this semester, but he miscounted his credits. He's a quarter of a credit short from graduating this semester. And there was a mention of, because it's 5 years, he might not be able to graduate with honors. I don't really remember the line of like communication too well, but just beware of, you do have a certain number of credits you have to meet. So plan your course load accordingly, because you don't want to be short of a credit when you apply for graduation.
Kiefer, do you know if your friend still gets a Bachelor of Computer Science, or is it different?
I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know what's happening.
I think the honors program is just like says that you like you did an extra hard computer science or Bachelor of Computer Science at Guelph, whereas like the non-honors program, you still get a Bachelor's of Computer Science. It's just like,
yeah, I'm sure that if he was really desperate, or like if there was no other options for him, then like he might just be able to apply with a graduate with the general degree, which is also totally fine and awesome. Just if you're in honors and you care about honors and you don't want to spend like 6 or 7 years in school, keep track of the credits that you're taking, because while I do recommend like a four course load, I think that my best semesters have been the ones where I've taken only 4 courses. Just beware.
Cool. Yeah. Good to know. I would have never known about that. So good to know. Thank you, Kiefer. Cool. Does anyone else have anything else to say about that?
I think I failed to answer the question. In my second year, when I was taking 2750, I took 4 courses and it was great. So yeah, recommend that.
Okay, so I think we're done with the courses portion. A lot of first years haven't been on campus yet, let alone like SOCS buildings. Any advice, or like what's you guys just want to kind of go like any differences that you guys see when you're like on campus compared to how online school has been? Like, can you help the first years sort of transition in any way and make the most out of campus opportunities?
Oh, you folks won't have been in like really big lecture halls like ever, probably.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. If you are used to like really like one-on-one interactions with like your teachers from high school, you can still have those on campus in like a big lecture hall. It's just that they happen after your class and you have to like line up and talk to your prof after with questions and stuff, and go to office hours if you want that like kind of one-on-one personal connection. Otherwise, big lecture halls, they can be pretty chaotic sometimes. I don't know what it's going to be like in this coming fall, if there's going to be face-to-face classes because of COVID and stuff. But when I was on campus and took like really big classes with lots of people, sitting at the back of the class is a really, really bad idea. Super chaotic. Sit close to the front. You're going to have a better time.
Yeah, definitely. All the people who talk and who just show up to the lecture to hear like that one thing that's like, okay, guys, this specific thing will be on the midterm. All those people sit at the back. If you're really there to learn about and like digest the information, stuff like that, sit close to the front. At least that's generally how like my large lectures went. But yeah.
Yeah, I can agree to that. Sitting at the back is not fun if you're actually trying to learn something, or if you have any kind of, I have some slight hearing difficulties. If you have any hearing difficulties at all, you are not going to hear the professor if you're sitting more than halfway back, because people are going to be talking.
Oh. Yeah, like mind you, they still have like speakers and stuff like that. Don't like get us wrong. And that they like the professor still speaking a mic and stuff like that in large rooms. But yeah, you can't hear those people because you can't hear the speaker sometimes because the people at the back are always talking. Julia, you have something to say?
Yeah, so campus is beautiful, but Canada's freaking cold. So take advantage of campus while you can, while the weather's still good. And you know, before your midterms and stress happen, like go to the Arboretum. There's like a whole ass forest behind U of G campus. Like go on a walk there, like have lunch outside on Johnson's Green. Like really like take advantage of the beauty, like the natural beauty of Guelph's campus because it's there like for you pretty much, and it's like a really good time. Also, in the warm months, learn how to get to your classes without going outside as much as possible. There's a lot of secret passageways, but they're not secret really. It's just like walking through buildings to get to one building so that you don't have to go outside. Like, learn that. Find an upper year student and just be like, hey, how can I get from here to here without going outside as little as I can, you know? Do that.
Also, this is probably something that you're not thinking about when you're making your class schedule. Look at where the buildings are that you're taking classes in. If you have classes back to back and you have to cross the street and go all the way across campus, you're going to be running. So if you have the choice, you're going to want to try and pick courses that are not, you know, you don't want to have to run all the way across campus in 10 minutes if you can avoid it.
Not even just courses, sections matter too. So like you might have a course that is taught in 2 different sections on opposite sides of campus. So pay attention to the building that your section's located in. And if you have a chance, like a choice, don't take classes in War Memorial Hall.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Oh, it's like, it's out of just nowhere, dude. It's like nowhere near any other buildings. It's so far.
In the winter, you practically have to skate across the Johnson Green to get to your other classes. So actually, I think there's like a video of someone that was really popular at one point where they literally just skated across the Johnson's Green to get to class on time. Like skates with like laces and everything. Like, yeah.
This is kind of more on the same topic here that we're talking about. What are the differences between lectures that are taught in persons, lectures that are taught in persons, and how are lectures taught / work in terms of courses that require heavy programming? So I'm guessing that like discrete math is like a math course and stuff like that, and it's a lot different from programming. Whereas I guess maybe somebody's confused about like obviously the professor's not gonna be sitting there like literally programming with you guys during the lecture. How does that work for you guys?
But you sometimes do have that. You have profs who send you little Jupyter notebooks and they're like, code with me. You know, you literally do have that sometimes.
Yeah.
This one was hard for me because I was like, it's class, like I don't. It's not really different. It's just like a lot of like weird diagrams and they're like, good luck taking notes.
Yeah. I don't know. This is a little bit of a hard question to answer. It's kind of generally the same, I guess. There's not too huge of a difference.
I think that a lot of the time when you're like kind of working on stuff that's like closely related to an assignment, your prof might do like a demo on like their slideshow, which probably is like the same as like how it is with remote learning. It's really not that different. I guess like what's pretty key is like knowing how to take notes. So with any class, you actually like uptake information better if you handwrite your notes than if you do type them on like a tablet computer or like a laptop. So I recommend handwriting your notes. It also helps with copying down diagrams because when you return to campus, I don't know if your profs are going to give you copies of slides. A lot of profs don't. So being able to take down as much information as quickly as possible is helpful. And copying down those diagrams can be tricky on a computer. Yeah, labs are helpful. Go to labs if you're in a programming heavy course and you're struggling with, you know, the programming aspect. That's where the programming happens. Usually a TA on hand that can, I don't know, help out with stuff. They'll like do closely related exercises that'll help you get through the assignments. It's not that different.
Yeah, not too many different things. Cool. Does anyone else have anything else to say about that?
I don't know how
Cool.
much this is not a related question to this, but I don't know how much you're aware of, like, we also have like a, I don't know, passion project for us computer engineers in our last year as well. And are we allowed to do anything we want, or does it have to be like, because computer engineering, I would assume it has to be more technical than software based, right?
Are you talking about the independent study?
Is it the capstone?
Do we not have it? Because I was looking at my curriculum and I saw that we have like an engineering proposal, and then we have to do a semester with like an engineering design. Is
I
that
think
it?
it's a little bit different from what Ellen's doing. I know that like engineers across a bunch of schools in Ontario have to do. I think it's called the capstone, what Julia is talking about, whereas they have like an end of the year project, and that typically has like a few guidelines where like maybe they'll give you a topic about like somehow you need to like reduce carbon emissions in the atmosphere or something like that, or there's usually a couple of like a few guidelines. I don't know how it works essentially, but you could definitely talk to like your program advisor. I don't know who it would be for comp eng, but if you email like your program advisor and ask them about stuff like about computer engineering and about your capstone project, they will definitely have way better information than we have.
Okay, thank you so much.
Cool. And does we have no more questions from Sarah's story that we haven't gone over. So please, if anyone else has any questions, please write them down in the chat. If not, I believe that we're going to conclude this event. So I'll leave about like 10 more seconds. If you guys want to type like I have a question before typing your question so that I know. Cool. Okay, so again, if any like questions do end up coming up that you guys forgot to ask, gryph.slack.com is a great place to ask these questions. You can specifically, I'm sure like my DMs are always open for any questions that anybody has. I'm sure everyone else on this panel can say the same thing. Yeah, so if there's any other questions, please just ask them on gryph.slack.com. Other than that, I believe that I am going to end this. Thank you,
Thanks for
Ellen.
answering all our questions and like trying, all of you guys, thanks for like trying your best to like come up with like a reasonable and like helpful response. We all really appreciate it.
Of course, yes. Thanks, Sarah, especially because she was the one who came to us with this idea saying like, hey, like lots of first years are pretty stressed about coming into second year. So without her, we definitely would have not been able to do this event. Yeah, so thanks so much, Sarah, for doing this.
Thank you guys for helping me out, and thanks everyone for coming. It really does help.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I believe I'm going to end this meeting now, or this event. Again, gryph.slack.com, amazing place. Thanks everyone for coming out, and yeah,